Hi guys, MrRoflWaffles here. Myself, Smart Guy, Javano, and Newbie have just completed Dead of the Night for the first time, and so I'm here making you an Easter egg guide hot off the presses so you can do it all in your games as well. Because we were the first team to manage to actually complete this live on a stream, there are some elements of this guide that I'm a little bit less sure on than I might otherwise be in another sort of no-nonsense guide on my channel. However, I have a solution for this. When I'm a little bit shaky on exactly how something works in the game, what I'm going to do is describe it in as clear detail as I can right now in this video, and then in the description I will link a separate playlist of other supplementary videos, so if there is any topic which you guys struggle on, I can post an extra video with even more information and basically update you guys if any of these steps change as well in Treyarch patches and things like that. That way, this guide will be your central hub for all things Dead of the Night Easter egg guide, but you'll also have a continuously updating resource which you can always access whenever you are so inclined. Alongside that playlist link in the description down below, I'm also going to link you to various basic guides for the map in case you're just getting to grips with it, like how to build the shield, how to pack a punch, things along those lines. You're going to need to do all of those things, and I'll note that in the description, in order to be able to complete this Easter egg, so make sure that you're doing everything that I recommend in the description, and I'll also try to call out to it in the video itself so you know what you do actually need to do. The first thing you need to do in your game is grab the sentinel artifact from the opposite side of the map to the one that you spawn on, and then basically start accumulating different buildable items. There are 3 silver items that you're going to need to create silver bullets, and that's one of the first things you're going to be able to start collecting. Each of those has 3 spawns. First, we'll look at the candle holder. One spawn is in the main hall to the right of the grandfather clock if you're facing towards the clock and away from the Atlas statue. The second possible spawn is on a table on the left-hand side when you enter the entrance hall, which is the upstairs room with the perk just opposite the sentinel artifact. And the third possible candle holder spawn is on the floor inside the billiards room just here. It will literally just be lying on the floor. The next silver object is a silver bowl. This can be on the wall just next to the image of a vampire that Godfrey draws. That's inside the wine cellar. Another possible spawn is next to the noose on the table in the wine cellar, and the third possible spawn is on a wine cabinet on the opposite side of that wine cellar to the area that we were just in with that table, with the noose, and with Godfrey's drawing of the vampire. Finally, the third part is a silver trophy. The first possible spawn for it is in the west hallway on the floor just next to this sofa. The second possible spawn is in the dining room in the corner on the table, and the third possible spawn is on the dining room table just opposite the clock. It will just be kind of perched on the corner. When you have these 3 items, head down to the wine cellar, and on the left-hand side there is a buildables bench at which you should be able to craft some molten silver from your 3 silver items. There are now 3 more parts that you need, and once again, each of these has, I believe, 3 spawns. The poop, or bat guano, can spawn just near the entrance to the Rhodes Cemetery. If you come around the corner here, it can be right next to this fence. It can be next to another fence actually as well, but we'll get to that in a second. First, we're going to come up these stairs here and take a look behind this tree. It almost looks like Liam here is trying to jump over it because it's pretty much in that location, a big brown pile of poop. And the third location that I know of is just down here, past this fencing and on the left. It'll be just in the middle of the path, kind of in the shadow there. The charcoal spawns in front of one of the fireplaces on the map. There are 12 fireplaces, but I recommend you check the following 3 fireplaces first. One is in the billiards room, the other is in the master bedroom, and finally, the third one I'd recommend you check first is in the main hall itself. Then finally, we just need some sulfur, which kind of looks like gold ore. This can be found in the greenhouse. All 3 spawns are in the greenhouse. One is on the left of the greenhouse laboratory entrance, another is on the right of the greenhouse laboratory entrance, and the third is in the upper left or kind of back left area of the greenhouse laboratory. All 3 of them will be on a table or on a desk kind of thing. Once you have your charcoal, your guano, and your sulfur, you're going to want to head down into the library. There'll be another buildables bench in here, and once you've crafted your molten silver from the previous buildables bench, you'll be able to build yourself silver bullets at this table. When you've crafted the bullets, you can go up to this table with any weapon apart from, I think, the wonder weapon, hold square, and pay for your bullets to become silver bullets. And you'll have a little icon in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen showing you that your bullets are indeed silver. This is going to be important after we've opened the Pack-a-Punch, which means you should probably be working on opening the Pack-a-Punch while you get all those silver pieces and do all of that crafting. To open PAP, you obviously need your 3 tuning forks. I'm going ahead and assuming you guys know how to activate the Pack-a-Punch in this video, but don't worry, like I said at the beginning, I have a full guide for opening PAP. If you don't know how to do it yet, linked in the description down below. It's already on my channel. That will tell you exactly what you need the tuning forks for. If you do know what you're doing and you've got all 3 of your tuning forks, make sure you've grabbed your silver bullets before you open the door to the forest area where the Pack-a-Punch itself is actually located. The reason for this is that when we open that door, as you'll know, a werewolf is going to spawn in, and you need to kill that werewolf with your weapon, which is using silver bullets. Assuming you land the finishing blow with a silver bulleted weapon, the werewolf should drop some sludge, which you can pick up, and it will go into the center of your inventory slots if you press your middle button on your controller. This werewolf chaos material is going to be useful in a moment. Now that you've done this, you need to go back to the 3 crystals that you used to open the Pack-a-Punch in the first place. So there's a blue crystal, green crystal, and purple crystal, and you need to look into each of them again. There's really nothing much to this step, just run over to them, hold square, look in the crystal again, and they'll show you a different thing this time. Something you should then be able to do is get yourself 5 tree branches from outside. Those tree branches are not going to be useful for a little while because I'm going to show you an order of events which doesn't use the tree branches until very near the end of this Easter egg, but I want to get it in here because it's another set of locations that I'm showing you guys, and I might as well get them out of the way early. So, 5 branches, all of them located in the cemetery area. The first is going to be found right when you head out of the doors and enter the cemetery itself. You'll notice that there's a kind of tree leaves blowing effect, and that signifies that you are at a tree that has a branch that you can knock down. You should pretty quickly get used to what these things look like in your game because they all look the same. They kind of stand out from the trees that they're on. The branches I'm shooting in this gameplay are the exact ones that you will need to shoot, and when they've fallen on the floor, you just need to hold square on them and they should fly away from you into the center of the cemetery. We're going to do that 5 times, and I'll show you the rest of them now. Here is branch number 3, and these can be done in any order, by the way, don't worry, or at least I think they can. Shoot it down, hold square, that will fly into the middle. This is going to be branch number 4, just once again, shoot it down, hold square, it will fly into the middle, and then branch number 5, just here, we're going to shoot that one down just like before, hold square, and that will fly into the middle as well. These are constructing a kind of rack or wicker man, which you, later in this Easter egg, are going to sacrifice yourself to. But, for now, other things need to be done. Bring your entire team, and if you're solo, that's just going to be you, to the cemetery where you already are, hopefully, if you've been collecting those trees, and make sure everyone has a ranged gun containing silver bullets. Then, get everyone to fire at the same time at the pylon, which should be visible just above the mausoleum in the cemetery. This is going to cause a blue beam of energy to fire out of the top of the mausoleum and into the main building. The beam, in fact, actually fires right through to the Atlas statue in the very center of the main hall. You need to run over, once this beam is active, to the spawn exactly where you spawned, and you should see 3 boxes open up. This part of the guide is now going to be referred to as the Atlas Challenge part of the guide, or something along those lines. Essentially, how to solve the Atlas step in the Dead of the Night Easter egg. This can at first be very intimidating, but as I said at the beginning of the video, despite the fact that I'm a little shaky on the best way to convey this, I'm going to do my best to explain it clearly and carefully, and you then should be able to replicate this in your game. It's a logic puzzle, so in theory, you don't need me to help you to figure this out at all, but I'm going to give you some pointers so that it's a bit easier for you to think about, and also a technique that in my games has worked pretty much every single time. There is always a risk that Treyarch changes this though, etc. So this is one of those steps where there will be a bonus video in the description playlist down below, giving you guys some extra pointers and making sure it's nice and clear. Right, let me introduce you now to the puzzle. The entire thing in-game can be simplified as follows. There are 3 circular pieces of metal that we care about, and each one of them is associated with a certain color. The smallest circle of metal is blue, the middle-sized is green, and the largest, the widest circle is red. They're the things that we see above Atlas's head in the middle of the mansion. In front of us, we see 6 levers, and I've labeled these levers like so. You've got your left 1 and left 2, then your middle pair, your middle 1, middle 2, and your right pair, R1 and R2. Right away, with the technique that I'm going to present to you in this video to get your brain in the right kind of place to solve this brain teaser, I'm going to get rid of L2, M2, and R2. We don't need to use them at all in the solving of this puzzle as long as we're careful. So from here on in this explanation, whenever I'm saying hit the left lever or something like that, you're going to want to look at the 2 yellow lights available to you on the left-hand side and make sure that you're selecting the L1 option rather than the L2 option. Basically, L2 is the reverse of L1, so if you make a mistake, you can go back with L2, but we should be fine with L1, M1, and R1. The way the puzzle works is these levers, left, middle, and right, each control different rings above Atlas's head. And we need to rotate the rings so that the light that we were shining in from the cemetery is bounced off the little reflectors on each of the rings. The inner ring, which I gave that blue color, is going to bounce the blue light beam that you can see, and then the middle ring will obviously bounce the green light, and the outer ring will bounce the red light on its little reflector. The difficulty is that because the levers change multiple rings at once, you have to almost solve this like a Rubik's Cube and change one ring in order to change another. This is less bad than it sounds, trust me. Stick with me for this explanation here, because I'm pretty sure I can make it real clear for you guys. The way the levers change the rings is as follows. The left lever is going to change the inner ring and the middle ring, but it won't touch the outer ring. The right lever is going to change the middle ring and outer ring, but it won't touch the inner ring. And then the middle lever is going to change all 3 rings. The key detail here is that yes, the left lever and the right lever both affect the middle ring, but their effects are the opposite of each other, and so if you change the left once and the right once, you'll end up with no change in the middle. You'll only actually be changing the left and right sides. This means the first thing we want to do is get our green ring, that's our middle ring, into position, because that's going to be the one that's the most complicated to sort out. Go to M1 and hold square until the green beam gives you a ding sound and is being reflected on that middle ring. The blue and the red will not be lined up right now, and that's okay. Then go to L1 and hold that down until your blue ring is lined up. It will give you a ding sound, but at that point, your green and your red will not be in the right places. This is fine. Then go over to your right lever and change R1 until your red is in position as well. At this point, you'll notice that blue and red are both lined up correctly. That's because those left and right levers are isolated from each other. They don't change all 3 rings like the middle lever does. And so we can get those in the right position really easily. With blue and red, that's your inner and outer rings, all sorted now, you want to go back to your middle lever. You're going to hit M1, and this is going to cause blue and red to both become incorrect again, but it's going to put green back into the same place. You then want to go back to L1 and put blue back where you need it, and then go right back over to R1 and put red back where you need it. Remember what I said before about how if you change the left side and the right side by the same amount, it will cancel the effect in the middle? That's the key to what we've just done here. We've said that we've got green exactly where we want it, And then we need to change blue and red by the same amount in order to get them to where they need to be. Because they're changing by the same amount, their effect on the middle is completely removed, and so green, instead of being pushed out of position, stays where we just put it, which is in the reflective position. And we therefore have completed the puzzle. If you're confused, if you get stuck, the first thing you're going to want to do is get your green in the middle to be where you need it to be. Then fiddle with your left and right and get them where they need to be. Then if you go back to your green and then do your outsides again, you should find, with a little bit of fiddling, that it will fall through. Don't just start hitting levers randomly here because you're going to end up confusing yourself. Instead, look at your puzzle and, if you want, write down exactly which lever is affecting which ring. And then think to yourself, okay, my blue is not in the correct position right now, and my red is offset by that same amount. It's wrong by the same amount. Therefore, if I need my edges to both rotate by the same number of turns, then that's perfect because that will mean that my green won't move at all. And so if your green is in the right position, your edges are allowed to move the same number of turns without destroying that green position. Hopefully, that is a clear explanation and gives you an idea of some of the thinking you need to employ in order to be able to solve this puzzle. I promise you, this is something that you can solve if you sit down and get your teammate to hold a zombie, for example, and spend 5 minutes just writing it out and thinking about which lever affects which symbol, etc. You should be able to make it fall through, just like it did in my game, but this is assuming that Treyarch doesn't change this Easter egg step in a day and make it more complicated. As I said at the beginning, I'll have extra videos on this topic in the description, and so if they do that, and there is a change to the Easter egg, I'll have a guide regardless, and so you won't get stuck either way. Once the Atlas challenge has been completed, it's going to be our job to start searching for signs of the zodiac, that's the symbols on screen right now, inscribed in the walls, ceilings, and floors of Dead of the Night. They're very hard to see and will just be scratched into surfaces in various different rooms. And each sign of the zodiac will have an associated series of scratch marks that we also need to take note of. The easiest way to explain what I mean by all this is just to show you, so I'm going to start running through all of the spawns that I know right now. Let's kick things off with the main hall. The possible zodiac spawn in this room is behind this candlestick, and the 3 associated scratch mark spawns are as follows. One is just behind this statue here against the wall, the far wall that is. One is above the fireplace just here, around where that bullet hole is. And the third is just up here, around the corner essentially, elevated around where that arch is. The wine cellar zodiac spawn is going to be engraved in the wood around this corner here. You can just about make it out in this gameplay above those bottles of wine. There are 3 scratch mark locations in here, as you would expect. One is scratched into this big barrel here. You can just make it out behind the kind of broken barrel. The second scratch mark location is going to be around the corner here. We're going to be taking a left and you can see it on that kind of cabinet door, the scratch marks. And then the third scratch mark location is going to be across the room on top of a barrel this time, once again carved into the wood. The entrance hall zodiac location is going to be just on the far side of the room under this table on the left-hand side, and it has 3 scratch marks associated with it, as you'd expect. One is going to be basically on the shield type thing of this statue here. You should be able to make it out pretty clearly if you get it in your game. Another will be against this plinth here. It will be fairly clear as well. And the third will be just to the top right of this picture frame. The billiards room zodiac spawn is going to be underneath the chess table. So go right down into prone and then look up and you should see it on the underneath of that table. 3 scratch mark spawns as expected. One is going to be right next to this bookshelf here. You can see it pretty damn clearly in this footage. Another is going to be surprise, surprise, next to another kind of filing cabinet type thing, except this time it's kind of above it as well. And the third is underneath another table, except this time instead of being on the table, it's on the floor. The library zodiac symbol is going to be inside one of the broken cabinets. Come around the corner here, you'll see this vase, this face, and in the bottom right, you'll see a zodiac symbol. Then we have 3 scratch mark spawns. One is pretty much right here, just around the corner. You can see this is a bit of a cheeky one because it's scratched into the already scratched wood at the top right of the rebuildable barrier. Then on the back of this crate, you have another scratch mark spawn as well. And then you're going to get a third scratch mark spawn, which took me ages to find. This one was really tricky, up by this kind of skeleton thing that they've got going on in here. Just by its left foot, you can see another series of scratch marks. In the bedroom/trophy room, you're going to have your zodiac symbol behind this cabinet and kind of behind the lampshade, quite low down. Then you're going to have 3 sets of scratch marks. One will be on the side of the fireplace, somewhere here. Then you'll have another series of scratch marks, and these ones will be underneath the candlestick or the lamp, like they'll be on top of those desks essentially. And then the final scratch mark spawn will be above the bathtub on the wall just there. Finally, the dining room. I've got to give a thank you to Greg and Dame for telling me about these ones. The symbol itself is going to be on the side of this stone or marble pillar. And then the 3 scratch marks are going to be as follows. One is on the ceiling up here. Look around on the kind of brown mahogany part of the ceiling. Then you're going to want to come over to the dining table itself, and on the white cloth, you will see some scratches just scratched right into it. And the third and final scratch location is going to be against this wall here, just sort of to the left of that central light fixture. So I've showed you a bunch of symbol locations, but why should you care? Well, the blue wheel that I showed you a minute ago is actually part of the telescope on this map, and the next step of the Easter egg is to enter a 3-digit code, which is going to be made up of 3 zodiac symbols. You'll have 3 symbols total visible on your map at any one time. For the sake of having a nice simple example, let's pretend that you ran around your map to the locations that I just showed you, and you found that you had Capricorn, Aquarius, and Pisces. That would be the top 3 in this screenshot. Seeing as you found those 3 on the walls across those various different rooms, you'd know that they were the symbols you'd need to input here. To input them, you turn the wheel by holding square on the left or right hand side of it, and then you knife the center of the wheel to input whatever character you've currently got selected at the top. Now here's the thing. The order of the symbols matters, and so you can't just find the 3 symbols and plonk them in a random order and hope that it works, because your chances of it succeeding are fairly low. Instead, the community has currently got various different methods for getting this one right. Initially, the way the community did this was to always enter their symbols in backwards chronological order. What I mean by that is, let's say you had these 3 symbols, right? You had your Capricorn, Aquarius, and Pisces at the top. As you can see on the graphic that I've put on screen here, we would be starting our year from Aries, which is the 2 kind of bullhorns symbol. And so if we were going in reverse order, rather than forward in time, we would go backward in time from Aries, and so we would enter Pisces first, then Aquarius, and then Capricorn. However, this does not work every single time, and while it worked for us in our first ever live streamed run of this map, and has worked for us in several other games, it is not a 100% successful strategy. I'll talk about some different strategies in just a second, but first I want to say, if you input a code and it's wrong, it's not the end of the world. All it means is that the symbols in your game will now randomize again. So you basically get one chance to get it right, and then you'll get a new set of symbols. It'll be 3 symbols across all the rooms that I just showed you, as if you'd never input a code in the first place. It just randomizes it. This means that if you're looking around the rooms and you can't find a symbol for some reason, you can just enter a dud combination here and reset the symbols to get them to spawn in places that you do know the locations for. It also means that if you want to just stick to your guns and, for example, just double down on the idea of entering everything reverse chronologically, then you totally can. and you'll just have to find the symbols maybe 4, 5, 6 times, something like that, and keep entering them before it gives you a successful completion. It eventually will do, the odds will be in your favor, you just have to keep trying. However, I said that I would give you some ideas for more productive ways to go about doing this. All the scratches that I showed you are what the community is assuming is meant to inform us about the order of symbols that we're meant to select. All of the symbols I've shown you have 3 scratch spawns. Each individual kind of set of claw marks or scratches can be counted and given a number. So you typically have 3, 4, or 5 scratches in a given position. In a certain room, because you have 3 sets of scratches, you might end up with something like 5, 5, 5 if they're all 5 scratches. Or you might end up with 3, 4, 5 if one's a 3, one's a 4, and then one is a set of 5, but they're all in the same room. It's this numbering system that the community is trying to use to tell us which things to do in which order. The current working theory that I've talked about with Kenshin, with Dame, with UK, with a bunch of different people from across the community is that you just need to add up the number of total scratch marks that you have in a certain room and do that for all 3 of your zodiac symbol locations. Then you simply enter the zodiac symbols in the order from lowest to highest of number of scratch marks in each room. So if one room has 5 scratches, another has 10 scratches, and another has 15, you would enter them in that order, the 5, 10, 15 order. This seems to be what the community has settled on as the most reliable method for this right now. But of course, if you have problems with this, guys, by the time you're having those problems, I'll have updated the description with a full video explaining exactly how this works. When it fails, I would recommend you just keep trying, doing it over and over again. When you enter your 3 symbols and you've done it correctly, you'll know you'll have done it correctly because the telescope will start moving. It will react to what you've just done, and you'll be able to come over to the winch just behind where you've been standing to enter those symbols and hold square on it to open a door in the roof where the telescope is pointing. You then need to shield bash this winch, this crank, while you're holding it open. You need to hold it down to keep it open, and you need to shield bash it while doing so, and it will dent the crank and keep the doors open for you. You then have a step that requires all of your team again. Bring everyone into the greenhouse and make sure everyone has a shield. The shield is vital on this map. Build it. I have a guide in the description down below. I really implore you to build the shield. You need it to do the Easter egg anyway, so you kind of have to. Get everyone in the greenhouse with shields and turn on the electric trap. Then have your entire team run through the electric trap while holding their shields and have them all, as soon as they do that, run up to the telescope itself. Everyone needs to, on the count of 3, melee the telescope, and if you don't get it on 3, just start hitting it a bunch of times with your electrified shield, and assuming your entire team all have electrified shields and are meleeing that top of the telescope, as you can see here, you should get a completion activation where a beam will essentially fire into the sky and clear the clouds. When this happens, you'll be able to go downstairs in this room, and underneath where you were just standing, there will be a stone slab that eventually appears inside the apparatus of the telescope itself. For now, I'm going to leave that there. I'm not going to pick it up, but if you want to do a lockdown event in this room with your team right now, you can all hold square on it and start that off. However, I think it's more simplistic if I show you all 3 of these at the end of the guide when we're about to go into the boss fight. So we're going to leave the slab there for now. Congratulations, you've pretty much done a third of the Easter egg already. Good work. The next kind of third of the Easter egg relies on you getting the wonder weapon in the map called the allister's volley. It's a handgun that shoots almost like a ray gun with a green bullet kind of effect. This can be acquired by every member of your team. All 4 players can have it, and it can be received fairly easily from the mystery box, so you don't need to do anything special to get it other than just hitting the box a bunch. But there is a free wonder weapon Easter egg which you can do on the map if you don't want to have to spin the box at all. This is another one of those videos that I'm going to have linked in the description down below, and while you don't necessarily have to do the free gun Easter egg, as far as I know at least, if things aren't working, maybe do it anyway, I think that it's just generally a good idea in your game because it'll save you some time. So that guide will be linked in the description down below like I've said. Anyway, by hook or by crook, you need to get yourself the allister's volley handgun. You also need to grab yourself a shield and come over to the library. Then head to the bookshelf that I'm standing on just here and shield bash it by holding out your shield and hitting the melee button. When you do so, you'll find a secret door opens and a part appears inside that you can pick up. You're then going to want to head over to the greenhouse. Inside, there's actually a machine which you can place your werewolf chaos material into. That's that sludge that we picked up from the werewolf earlier on in the game. When you do that, the sludge will go in the little chute here. It'll wait for about 15 seconds, and then just around the corner, you'll be able to pick up a slide that will go in your HUD right in the center of your inventory. With this slide, and with the part that we picked up from the secret room by shield bashing, you should be able to go over to this buildables bench that I'm going to here, and there are 2 in this room, so don't get confused, but go over to this one, and you'll be able to craft the Chaos Theory V2. At this point, we need to start working on killing vampires with this weapon, but we need to do it in a specific way. This gun has a charged shot now, where it did not before, and that charged shot has one of 2 effects. Either a kind of green, misty type effect, or a tornado. You need to play through a round or something, shouldn't take long at all, and kill 4 vampires, I believe it is, with the charged shot of your Chaos Theory pistol. When you do so, when the vampire eventually dies, it should drop a green splat of bile. And like I said, you need to kill 4 vampires, I think, 4 or 5, and pick up 4 or 5 bile sludge patches. You then need to go over to the glowing red gravestone, which is inside the cemetery, and hold square on it from the side that I'm showing you right here. A red, or rather a crimson vampire will jump out, and these guys are really annoying, so watch out. They do not care about the charged shot of your Chaos Theory. They're going to run right through it and give you a real hard time. But you need to kill this guy, and he will drop a Nosferatu Chaos material that you can grab, and that will then go in your inventory. We're going to need another one of these Chaos materials, and to get that, we're going to play a little mini game with the lanterns in front of the mausoleum. You'll notice that one of the lanterns has a kind of darker orange tint, and that lantern needs to be shot with your Chaos Theory. It will then jump to one of the other similarly designed lanterns in this area. There aren't many lanterns total here, so before you begin this, I suggest you get a mental log of which lights are already turned on and yellow, and which are turned off, and then that way when you start this challenge, you'll know exactly which lantern you need to be jumping to after you've shot your previous lantern. So shoot your first lantern, which will be that orangish color like I said, and then that will go off, another lantern will turn on with the orange glow, you shoot that, you get it to spawn somewhere else, you do that again, and then you do all of that again, and after 4 or 5 lanterns, you'll have completed this, and a vampire bat will spawn out of the lantern. I guess the idea here is that he's trapped in the light, and you're kind of releasing him somehow? Anyway, as soon as he spawns in, shoot him with the Chaos Theory, because he's gonna fly in the air, and it becomes a pain in the arse to actually shoot him and hit him with the Chaos Theory, but you need to for this step to work. So shoot him straight away. If you miss, try shooting him down with silver bullets. You can have some luck with that, but realistically, you're gonna wanna do anything you can, anything in your power, to hit him with your Chaos Theory. When you do so, he will die, and he will drop you another one of those Chaos materials that you can pick up and will go into your inventory. If it's not working for you, you may want to try a charged shot on the vampire bat instead of just a regular standard shot with the Chaos Theory. Next, when you've done that, you're going to want to head over to the forest where the Pack-a-Punch is. When you go in, you'll notice that there are spores on the ground, these green, glowing mushrooms that look very suspicious. You'll notice that there are 3 of these things spawned in your game. The first will be right in the entrance to the forest, and then the other 2 will be kind of on the far right side, and then the kind of center left side. You need to go stand next to one of them and then charge your Chaos Theory. When a zombie runs towards you, try and angle yourself so the zombie is standing on the mound, and then hit that zombie with a direct impact of your charged Chaos Theory. If successful, the zombie will dig, or the vampire will dig into the mound of dirt below you, those spores and mushrooms, and it will get rid of all the mushrooms. If you're lucky and you have a 1 in 3 chance to get this, because there are 3 different patches where it can happen, you will receive an item on the floor that you can pick up. This is a weapon frame, essentially, that you're going to be using to upgrade this pistol again. If you don't get it the first time, don't worry, just go to the next spore location, do the same thing, and it can be a bit fiddly, by the way. They won't always dig straight away, so if it doesn't work for you, maybe run away for a second, then run back, direct impact a zombie with your Chaos Theory charged shot while you're standing right next to that spore pile, and try and make sure that the zombie is standing on top of the spore pile when you do it, and it should dig, and after you've done all 3, you'll have exhausted all your options, and by then, you have to have had the drop, which you'll be using to upgrade your gun. You now need to go back to the greenhouse. Do you remember what we did with that werewolf sludge in the machine, turning it into a slide? Well, you're going to do the exact same thing here, twice, for both of the chaos materials that we just picked up from that vampire bat and from the red vampire respectively. Go over to the machine, hold square, it will go inside, it'll take 15 seconds, it'll poop out a slide, pick it up, then do the same thing again, and you'll end up with 2 slides. You then can go over to the other buildables bench inside the greenhouse, and you'll be able now to craft your fully upgraded Chaos Theory weapon with even more attributes. This thing has even more charged shots, and it's much more powerful as well. Its sight is not very good, I don't recommend aiming down sight, but its charged shot is pretty awesome. Now then, remember earlier on I showed you those 5 branch locations in the cemetery? Yeah, well, I bet you're glad that you've already done that in your game now, because it means that you can move right along to the next step in this process. You need to bring your team into the cemetery and look for a gravestone which has your character's face on. There are something like 8 different spawns here. I'm going to be showing you a bunch in the gameplay, just running around in the cemetery, showing you different options for where it could possibly be. But you need to find your character's gravestone and look at the date on it. If your character date is 1912, you're in the money. You're going to be the key to this next Easter egg step, while your team are kind of going to be observing you and bystanding just a little bit. I'll try and show you both perspectives though, so that you can do this no matter where you are in your team. So let's say you are the player who has a grave with your face on it and it says 1912. Let's also assume that one of your teammates has the fully upgraded pistol that we've just been working on, has both of those upgrades on it, not just the first one, but the second one too, with the extra different charge shot options, and they're ready to go and help you out with this step. You're going to want to hold square on your gravestone, and you'll get a weird visual effect on your screen. You then need to run over to the area I'm showing you now, where that wicker man was created. Your teammate needs to shoot at the ground in front of the wicker man with their charged shot of their upgraded wonder weapon. And by the way, it doesn't need to be pack-a-punched here, just upgraded as in crafted twice. What they need to do is cycle through their charged shots until they get the one that is a fireball. It should look quite like the staff of Ra being placed down. You should recognize it from that. But as soon as you see that fire effect from the charged shot in front of the wicker man area, you, as the player who is in the crazy vision, needs to jump onto the wicker man by holding square or interact. Your character will climb on, and then you'll be engulfed in flames and pulled down into hell. If this doesn't work, make sure that your teammate is shooting the fire effect with the charged shot closest to the wicker man. Also make sure that you have the crazy vision on your screen when this is happening. You'll lose the crazy vision if you go down, and it will then possibly switch to one of your teammates, so keep tabs on that if you're dying, etc. Once you've been pulled down to hell, you'll respawn back into the map, but you'll be invisible to your teammates. Zombies will still attack you though, so be careful. Head back into the building, and you're going to need to walk around until you find a ghost spawn. It will be just like the ghost that you saw earlier on in the Easter egg, the blue female ghost. You'll notice her spawning into a room because she'll probably give you a quote, or you'll say a quote when you enter the room as the ghost. Some spawns that I've seen fairly often are in the master bedroom. She'll kind of be behind the rebuildable barrier just to the side of the bed, or potentially on the other side of the room as well. And then another option that I've seen a lot as well is inside the entrance hall, so that's where one of your perks will be, upstairs, basically above the wine cellar. She can be in there as well. I'd recommend you check library, you check the tea rooms, you check all of the rooms essentially in that core area of the house. And if you still can't find her then you're gonna need to obviously check things like the greenhouse too. I think it's very unlikely that she'll be there though, But consult the description because I might update this guide with some extra info right down there, and that might end up telling you exactly where she's gonna be. Once she's spawned in, you as the ghost need to escort her by following her around and staying as close to her as possible. She's gonna walk all the way back to the Wicker Man that we were just at. She'll then create a bonfire temporarily on the floor, and beneath that bonfire, after a few seconds, will spawn a stone slab. As the invisible player, you need to run over to that and hold square, and it will spawn you back into the real world, and you'll be able to keep going with this Easter egg. However, if you die while you're in the vision or anything like that, this step will reset, and you'll have to do the whole bonfire thing where you jump on the Wicker Man, you go to hell, then you come and escort the ghost. You'll have to do all of that again, which is pretty tedious. So be careful here, and make sure you hold square on that slab. Once again, at this point, if you wanted to, you could do a lockdown in the cemetery. To do so, you would just need to get all of your teammates to hold square on this slab at the same time. However, my strategy for this, once again, is to pause and wait until you're more set up in your game in order to do those lockdowns. And the most likely time you're going to be most set up to do these is right before boss. So I would say you can leave this slab on the floor here once it's spawned into the real world and you're out of crazy vision and crazy ghost mode. Just leave it there for now. We'll come back to it in a couple of minutes' time. Congrats if you've got this far. You're now 2/3 of the way through the Easter egg guide. Making good progress here. Okay, on to the third of this Easter egg. Yes, this is the final section before the boss fight, of course. You're going to need a shield for this, and you're also going to need your upgraded Chaos Theory, like I mentioned previously. You also are going to need one of the fire discs that you can find around the map, which allow you to craft traps in various different areas. These things have spawn points all over the map. You can only pick up 3. I'll list you some now, though, so you can get a feel for where to look. This is what they look like, by the way. I'm showing you in-game as well. Okay, couple quick spawns that I always see. Entrance to the cemetery just there. All over the main hall, really. They'll be on side tables, things like that. There's quite often some in the entrance hall as well. And on this bench, I see them quite often too. They're also on the floor, just around the back there, going towards the greenhouse. I'll put more spawns in the description, though, if you guys need them. Once you have your shield, your upgraded, and by that I mean double crafted Chaos Theory, and also your fire energy core, or whatever it's called, the trap piece essentially, you're going to want to come over to the library, or at least this is where I always started this process. You're going to need to turn on the trap, and then shoot a charged shot of Chaos Theory at the fire. The fire should turn blue, and you then need to pull out your shield and stand in the fire for a second to get a blue fire effect on your shield. You then need to melee 4 fireplaces in the following order. First, melee the fireplace in the smoking room, which is the upstairs room next to the billiards room. Then, once you've meleeed that, you should get a blue flame effect on the fireplace itself. You're then going to want to run back towards the trap that you've just activated, and in the library on the right-hand side, you're going to want to light that fireplace with blue flames as well. Then, on the left-hand side of the library, once again, melee, and you should get blue flames appearing inside that fireplace. If the blue flames are disappearing, you're doing these in the wrong order somehow. The order has been the same in every game that I've played, but if Treyarch decide to change the way this Easter egg step works, there is a chance that the order could be a trial and error thing for you. Anyway, I'll come back to that point in just a moment. The 4th and final fireplace that you need to set on fire is in the billiards room, so head up those stairs and melee the billiards room fire, assuming you still have your blue fire. And by the way, if you run out of time, you can just do this entire process again. It's not going to hurt you or anything. You're just going to have to spend 1,000 points on the trap once more. But with all 4 of them successfully meleeed in the order I've just told you, smoking room, library right, library left, billiards, you should have a gemstone spawn inside the billiards room fireplace. Hold square and you'll be able to grab it. We need to repeat this in 2 other areas. In my gameplay, I'm using the same trap for all 3 of these areas just because I'm lazy and I couldn't be bothered to find the fire cores. You'll be absolutely fine if you do that. It's not going to hinder you too much. So don't be afraid to if you want to save some time. Our first fireplace here, once we've done the whole rigmarole of shooting the fire trap with the Chaos Theory and then standing in it with the shield out so that we get the blue fire on the shield, our first one is going to be in the main hall on the right hand side if you're facing away from the Atlas and towards the grandfather clock. Then head up the stairs next to you and hit the fireplace right there, very near to the spawn. Then head back down the stairs and go to the left fireplace in the main hall. And then finally, we're going to head up the stairs on the other side this time. And there's a fireplace pretty much opposite the second one you hit here, just next to the tea room. That's going to be your fourth and final fireplace. And once again, you will have a gem spawn, assuming all your fireplaces stayed lit up and you did not run out of time. The third set of fireplaces is going to start in the trophy room, but once again, I'm going to use the same trap I was using before. Once we've got that blue fire on our shield, we're going to go over to the trophy room, melee the fireplace, then slide through to the master bedroom and melee that fireplace, and then rotate around this floor to the music room and melee that fireplace. Then, finally, you have to kind of double back on yourself, head downstairs, and melee the dining room fireplace, and that, once more, will drop you a final gem which you can grab. At this point, you should have picked up 3 gems and lit up all those fireplaces. That's 12 different fireplaces in total, but they're split into 3 sets. These 3 gems need to be placed inside the knights that are dotted around the map. There are 3 knights. One is in the cemetery. It's on the right-hand side of the cemetery when you're going in. You just want to go over to it, hold square, and you should be all set. You should actually then end up having a gem following you as well because the knight will collapse, so bear that in mind. If you run too fast, that gem following you will get stuck on the environment and it will just get left behind, so don't go too quickly now when you're going to these other 2 knights. The second knight is going to be inside the main hall, and you can do these in any order, by the way, don't worry, but second knight I'm showing you is main hall, just kind of around this corner here. Once again, hold square, gem will go inside, knight will crumble, and you'll get another gem following you. And then finally, the third knight that I'm going to be showing you is near one of the perk locations in the greenhouse area of the map. It's just off to the side. You should find the knight there, hold square, gem will come out, it will follow you. Bob's your uncle. Bring these 3 gems by walking very slowly, like I said, to the forest. In the forest, you'll find that there are 3 colored panels on the floor, which, surprisingly, correspond to each gem. All you therefore need to do is walk the gems over those colored panels, and you should see that when you've done all 3, a knight will spawn in each position. If you have 3 knights, you're on to the next step, and it's a soul box. So each knight is its own soul box here, and as you get more kills, the knights are going to dismantle themselves and reconstruct themselves a little closer to the pack-a-punch machine. They'll do this a few times, keep filling them with souls. It's about 10 to 15 souls per knight per position, and once they're done, they'll be very close to the pack-a-punch machine, and they will form a triangle. That triangle will have a cordon going between each point, so you'll be able to see the triangle really clearly. If you can see that triangle, you know that all 3 of your knights are filled up and you're on to the next step. Now, all you gotta do is kill a werewolf, preferably with silver bullets, inside that triangle, and ideally with you in the triangle as well. It's really fiddly, this, and I've done it with a shield gun before, but I suspect that's gonna get patched. So I'd recommend just trying to prioritize silver bullets inside the triangle with the werewolf in the triangle, and if you do it correctly, it will essentially trap the werewolf and you'll have completed the step, the triangle around you will go away, and a slab will spawn below you, just like we were seeing in the previous 2/3 of this guide. At this point, you are ready to do all 3 defenses. Now, I stress, this is a great opportunity for you to grab all 4 of your perks. Make sure you grab all 4 as well, because that's going to give you speed cola. It's a great chance to pack-a-punch your weapon all the way through to when you're not gaining damage anymore, so repack it several times. Hit the mystery box to try and get the homunculus, and try and get more members of your team the wonder weapon, that pistol which you can craft twice, remember, inside the greenhouse. Also, put silver bullets on your gun, or use the silver bullets buildables bench to just buy more ammo for your gun, because that's possible too. Make sure your specialist is ready, make sure that you're ready with your elixirs if you need them, and generally prepare yourself for something a little bit crazy. You can do these in the order that you choose, but I would recommend the order that we actually did them in the first place. So that would start off in the greenhouse, we would do a defense in there, then you would head over to the cemetery, and then finally we would end up back in the forest, and then as soon as we've done that, we can basically go to boss fight if we're so inclined. I'll start you off with the greenhouse defense. The way it's going to work is you need to bring your whole team to the symbol which is inside the machine below the telescope, and all of you need to hold square on it at the same time. If you get this right, and it can be a little fiddly, so give it a few goes, the slab will kind of come come out of the machine and lift in the air, and you will then be stuck inside the greenhouse room. You'll be locked off and prevented from leaving. You need to kill a load of zombies in here. There'll be the crimson vampires. They're really annoying. There'll be magma zombies. There'll be gas zombies. It's going to be crazy. And after a minute or so, you'll end up with a huge wave of werewolves spawning, which is really bad news, unless you have your specialist weapon at the ready to take them all down. The Hammer of Valhalla is great for this. Kill everything you can and survive. That's literally all you gotta do. Just kill it all and survive, and you'll get a white flash on your screen to indicate that you've finished it eventually, and you'll be able to leave the room once more. Before you leave the room, you're going to want to go over to the slab that we held square on before and hold square on it. It's going to give you a max ammo, so you'll be right on ready to go into the next challenge, and you'll have picked the slab up. The next one is going to be in the cemetery. The slab is located where we spawned it before, remember? There was that fire. It's going to be on the floor where your ghost character spawned back in. All 4 of your teammates need to hold square on it together once again, and it will fly into the air. You'll then be locked in the cemetery. For this, I have a technique that I think works pretty damn effectively. It's even more effective if you have one of those fire energy cores, and you can install that in the trap that's on the front doors of the mausoleum. Bring your entire team in there if you're in co-op, and try and ensure at least that if you're going to do this, multiple members of your team have that upgraded wonder weapon, and then basically just sit in the mausoleum and spam your charged shots at the floor. All the time, while you're doing this, keep the trap on. It's going to hurt you a lot if you stand in it, so don't do that unless you've pulled your shield out. But it's also going to kill werewolves, it's going to kill other stuff really well. It's just really, really useful to have. And it's got a really quick refresh too, so it's not going to be down for very long. One thing to note in here is that the red crimson vampires are going to ignore the charged shots on your wonder weapon. And as such, you're going to probably want someone else with a bullets gun. Silver bullets is ideal. Maybe something with splash damage to try and take them out for your teammates as well. But generally be careful of the crimsons, and after a minute or so, once again, you'll have a werewolf wave. Use your specialist weapons. Make sure you keep hitting the trap, and you can leave the mausoleum if you want to. You don't have to do it here. You do have a bit more room to run around. It's just that I find it can actually be quite useful having all of your teammates' AoE damage happening here, just to keep you safe. Probably assign 2 people to each entrance to the mausoleum, and that way it'll be a little bit easier to hold off. After you've done this for about 2 minutes, you'll get that white flash again, you'll be able to go over to the slab, hold square, get a max ammo, and you'll have 2 slabs in your inventory now, or 2 slabs on your boss door really, and you'll be ready to do your 3rd and final one. The last one is the one that can be the most sketchy, I would say. For this, if your specialist weapon isn't back up just yet, maybe consider popping armamental acceleration, things like that, just to help you. Maybe pop an elixir or 2. That might be useful here. But head to the cemetery, hold square together as a team on the slab right in front of the pack-a-punch machine. It will fly up just like it did with the other ones. It will lock you in just like it did with the other ones. And you'll then essentially have a kind of tower defense thing going on here. You've got 3 lanes, left, mid, and right. And you're probably going to want to assign one person to just shooting all 3 lanes, and then the others focusing on their own lanes, and trying to prevent any zombies from actually getting to your team. The werewolf thing is going to happen again, and that's why I recommend that armamental or any other gobbles just to make your life a bit easier here if your special weapons aren't ready. It can get very crazy in the forest, but you do have a fairly large amount of room to run around because of the fact that you can run all the way up to the gates of the forest, and it still won't lock you in until you actually kind of hit the gates themselves. Use homunculuses, use your wonder weapons, you're going to get a max ammo anyway, so it doesn't matter. Use the Hellion if you've got it, use anything you can to scrape your way through this, and you'll also notice the knights helping you with their gems flying around and killing zombies and things along those lines. And when you've done this, just like before, hold square on the slab, you'll get your max ammo, and you'll now have 3 slabs, that's 3 different shapes, in the boss fight door, which is also in the forest, exactly where you are right now. This is your other golden opportunity to get perks, let your specialist charge up a little bit, get ammo, get homunculuses out of the box, all of those things, pack a punch a million times, etc. Do it all now, because once you go to the boss fight, you're not coming back. That's it. 1 or 2 recommendations for you here, if you don't mind. I think that the wonder weapon for this is really good once you've done that double craft, so probably have a couple people bring those along. Also, the Hellion Salvo is one of the most powerful weapons in this game, and if you quad pack it, it's beastly for this. So bring that on multiple people if you can, but if it's just one person, bring it on just the one. Honestly, you'll be just fine in this fight if you've got the double crafted wonder weapon and the Hellion Salvo quad packed. that would do you great. I mean, that's what we did this Easter egg first with on stream. Homunculuses are also super useful here, so really try and get those out of the box just before you go if you can. Anyway, once your team is ready to begin... Oh, and make sure you got silver bullets! Don't forget that. And refresh your shield. Don't forget that either. Head over to the door in the forest and have everyone hold square together. And once you've done it correctly, the door will roll back and you'll be teleported into the boss arena. Now, as long as you keep your cool, this boss should be okay. The way it's going to work is going to be split into 3 separate stages. The first stage requires you to rotate certain turrets on the outside of the arena with white lights on them. When you rotate them correctly, those white lights will go green. And the way that you know where you need to rotate them is that there'll be a green square in the center of the arena somewhere that you need to point those white lights at. When all of your white lights are pointing at that green square, and they've all turned green because of that, you'll then be able to trap the werewolf boss inside the square that you have created. To get him to go in there, head on yourself into the square, try and survive in there a little bit, kind of tease him, bait him out, wait in the square for a couple seconds, and you should be able to get the boss to spawn in inside the square, and he'll then be basically stun-locked by the turrets that you have focused on this green square. This is your opportunity to do boss damage. You're basically bringing the boss's kind of shields down, I suppose, and then you're laying into him for a limited time, 15 seconds, before it goes back to the boss just kind of zooming around and doing loads of damage to you. Things to watch out for while you do this are as follows. 1. The boss has an underground attack, which will halve your health. 2. The boss has a kind of bomb attack that will halve your health. 3. Vampire bats are annoying. Those crimson ones. They're very, very annoying. And 4. Be careful of magma zombies. Also, if your shield is getting depleted, don't be afraid to grab your carpenter, because you have a carpenter and a max ammo in this area. And the reason I'm saying that is that you're going to get a new carpenter and a new max at each stage of this boss. So when you jump in, I'd say get your shields down to like a third left, and then also, by the way, don't forget to use your shield gun because it's really strong. But once you're down to about a third left, grab that carpenter, it will refresh your shields, and if you really need to, you can grab the max too. Every time you successfully trap the boss in the box and everyone's getting to starting to do damage, have one of your teammates chuck a homunculus. In fact, have them ready to do it as soon as that box has been created by your team rotating those white lights to point towards the green box and make them all go green. That way, you'll lose as little boss damage time as possible, and you'll be able to make the whole boss fight go faster. When you've done this maybe 5 times, the boss will have taken enough damage to move you onto stage 2. Here, loads of zombies are going to spawn, and then loads and loads of werewolves are going to spawn. This is where the Hellion Salvo really comes into its own. It basically one-hits werewolves, or 1 or 2 hits them. It's really incredibly strong, and it's amazing on the boss too. So definitely be making use of that while your teammates are chucking homunculuses if you can. The second stage, honestly, is just a case of shooting everything that moves and killing all of the werewolves. And if you survive, you'll be on to stage 3. Now here, the game is no longer going to tell you where your green square is, and so you're going to need to rotate your turrets on the outside and sweep across the space in order to try and find out where that green square is hiding. Sweep one of the turrets left, then sweep it right if you haven't already found the green square. Once you spot it, just point the other turrets towards it, and then it's the exact same as before. You're going to want to trap the boss inside by luring him in, by standing in there and just generally dancing around, being a little tasty snack for the werewolf. And then as soon as he's trapped inside, homunculus out, do boss damage, Hellion Salvo, get those silver bullets into him, do everything you possibly can to hit his weak spots, and do this once again, something like 5 to 7 times. Remember your carpenter and remember your max ammo. They're going to come in clutch here, especially to give you new homunculuses, and potentially to give you extra Hellion ammo if you're using a lot of that as well. Spam those wonder weapons, and just generally have a good time. Use your Wraithfire, use Armamental Accelerator if you want to get your specialist weapon back after the second round. All these things can be used to your advantage, and after those 5 to 7 boss damage waves of shooting that boss when you trap him in the green square, you should kill him, and the cutscene will then play. This has been a full guide to the entire goddamn Easter egg for Dead of the Night, the DLC that came out completely by surprise, that I stayed up for 30 hours completing for the first time ever on stream for all of you guys to watch. It's been an incredible journey. I really want to sleep right now, but I've been grinding this guide out for you guys, and I hope you appreciate that. Please show your support on the video if you do appreciate it by leaving a like, subscribing, etc. And remember, if you have any problems with any of this, leave comments down below. I'm sure my community will be happy to help you, and I'll also see those comments myself and also update the playlist links in the description so that you guys have up-to-date steps for absolutely everything, even if this changes when Treyarch patches stuff after launch. Thank you so much, guys. This has been a real journey. I'll talk to you soon, and congratulations for completing the Easter egg. Bye for now. See you on DLC 2.